You say
The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox. Preserving history, one veteran story at a time. Marine Corps League and Till Valhalla Project Ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to the podcast that's given a voice to our veterans. The Lost Art Project, Veteran Voices with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast, that podcast giving a voice to our veterans. I'm your host, Andrew Cox, and today we are having a veteran story. But before we get into the episode, are you enjoying the podcast? And make sure you hit up the website. That's the lostart.podbean.com. Go check us out, see what we're all about. There's a couple ways you can help support us. You can go to that website. There's a one-time donation link. There's a become a patron, and that's a monthly donation. You can go and just get you some cool gear, purchase some merchandise, or if you have a business or something of that nature, you can advertise right here on the podcast. A big shout out to the Till Valhalla Project. They are out there doing amazing things. I encourage you all, go check them out, see what they're all about, and if there's any way you can help them, it would be much appreciated. That's tillvalhallaproject.com. Are you a Marine veteran? Are you missing that bond you had on active duty? Then I have a place for you. Join the only congressionally chartered Marine Corps veteran service organization, the Marine Corps League. Get that brother and sisterhood back in your life. Become one of the fewer, the prouder, a Marine Corps League member. All right, here we are. I got Chuck with me. Chuck, how you doing today?
doing very well, thank you.
Awesome. Hey, it's great to see you. Last time we spoke was down in Texas. We were down there for the national convention, so it's good to see you now.
Well, it's good to see you again, and I'm calling again from Texas now. This is Texas, my home.
Very nice, very nice. I'm not too far away from you. They call this up here North Texas, is what I'm told, but Oklahoma, you know. Well, hey, Chuck, let's start at the beginning. Let's start like where you grew up. What was that like? And then kind of what drew you to military service?
Well, my dad was in the Army. He put over 20 years in there, and he married an Italian girl when he was stationed in Italy, in Trieste, after the war, basically. So he was part of the occupation forces, and he was there in Italy basically protecting Trieste from the Yugoslavians who wanted to take over that area of Italy for their own, because it was right next to each other, and there was a lot of infantry fighting, but he was with the support troops and things of that nature. He was in Trieste in a little place called Bacala outside of Trieste, more to the west of Trieste, in a small town there. And many years when I traveled there, you saw many places that had a U.S. symbol in red and white, black letters, and that's where the military, U.S. military, was basically housed in civilian housing, in apartment buildings and things. While he was there, he met my mom at the local church, and with a friend of his from Chicago who spoke Italian, his friend of his, where he was from Pennsylvania and didn't speak any bit of Italian. And he liked one girl, and his friend liked this other girl that from the same family. Eventually, they got married and had a double wedding there at the small chapel there outside of Trieste, right there.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was born in Pisa, Italy, when my dad was stationed there. That's where he was based after being in Trieste for a while. And so I basically lived and moved around with them, and we came back got stationed back in Germany, Worms, Germany first, then Mannheim the second time. And in the summertime and the wintertime, or Christmas time, we would go drive down to Italy to visit my grandmother and have big family get-togethers, because I had many aunts, one uncle, and a whole bunch of cousins, and from the Trieste area. So eventually, Dad came back to United States and was stationed at Fort Carson. He got orders to Nam, did a tour. He was basically Had to go to school to become a translator and instructor for the Vietnamese in motor
Wow.
transport and fixing vehicles. And he had to learn French, Vietnamese, and other languages. And he said after he found out what he was going to be doing and where he's going to be assigned to, basically out in the middle of nowhere with no American troops, he kind of flunked the exams for the language school. So he got stationed with an Army unit versus being assigned, one American with a bunch of 100 Vietnamese troops and stuff.
Yeah.
So he did 1 year there. We sent him care packages, and he came back home, did a couple more years. The Army offered him another stripe if he went back a second time, and he said, "Nope, I'm getting out." So he had like 24 years in, and he got out, and I continued in school, and I graduated from high school in Whitefield, Colorado, outside of Colorado Springs, and trying to decide what I wanted to do. Air Force is too easy. I wanted something of a challenge, and my dad said, "Don't go to the Army. He lived it. It's changed too much, and you wouldn't like it." Looked at the Navy, and the Navy was going to offer me, well, you could work on an S-3 anti-submarine airplane, looking for submarines, and I wasn't too pleased with that concept or idea. I wanted something different and better. Like I said, Air Force is too easy. Army, but Dad said against it. Navy, nah. Looked at the Marine Corps. They were the toughest, supposedly, of all the branches, and they offered a challenge. I was a C plus student in high school. I knew I was going to go to college. I was tired of school. Job prospects in the Colorado Springs area was very poor. The economy wasn't growing or anything. It was an Army base. The Air Force Academy was there, or in the north part of town. Fort Carson was in the south part of town. They had Peterson Field there also. And, so I signed up I was in the on the wrestling team in December, early entry program in December 19th, and waited 6 months and went to boot camp and stuff. Last year of my high school was a fun year kind of thing for me. I took more fun classes than necessary classes. I finished already the math I needed, the English, the histories, the everything else. So I was in a program at what they call El Paso Community College. It's now Pikes Peak Community College. And I signed up for the program called Police Sciences. And basically we went there in the morning, took some police classes in basic instruction and police tactics and investigative skills for the police. Learning how to do that. So we did that there for 1 year. You had to take psychology, sociology with that, patrol, accident investigation, crime investigation, writing reports, just some basic things. We learned how to use a speed gun, and just some basic things. It was fun.
That's a great program.
It was. It's awesome. Something new that they had. It's just started. I signed up early for it, and that summer, before school started for my senior year, I took an extended stay to visit my grandmother because I knew I was going to do something in the military when I graduated. I just didn't know what, and I wanted to spend some time with my grandmother because I grew up with her since I was a little kid, and many times I was left with my grandmother while my dad and my mom were either in Germany or in Italy, where they would allow some other family members and stuff. So for a couple of years, I was there growing up with her. My grandmother went to nursery school there in Italy, near underneath the big bridge that the trains went on. And during the World War II, the bombers tried to destroy the bridge because it was the only way to get to the train station in Trieste. This train track went along the coastline to Trieste and things. And they were always trying to bomb this gigantic, it was like over 1,000 feet tall, made of stone, granite. And, but they missed all the time. My grandmother's house was on the hill. We had a great view of the ocean, Adriatic, right there. and the
Wow.
view of the bridge. And they said many times they've heard the bombers come across. They've had machine gun fire come into the house, and there's holes in the floor in the hallway as well as in the kitchen, where the bullet hole went inside the ground and stuff.
Wow.
So that's some things we saw there.
Right.
Old house. I was scared as a kid because the second floor there was another lady that used to live there, but she passed away, and they had that apartment complex or that area of the house blocked off, so we never went up there, and it was
Okay.
always dark up there, and we had to sleep sometimes on the second floor bedroom, and the other side was all closed and dark, and as a kid I was always scared of what I could be up there, ghost and who knows.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly.
that was
Wow.
basically it. So, like I said, when my dad was stationed in Germany, we went to, like I said, to Trieste in the summertime. We took all kinds of food items from the commissary, sugar, coffee, cigarettes for the people who smoked, and other items there. We, took a turkey with us for Christmas. Had a big dinner and things. Summertime was the same kind of a thing. We brought many food items to them. Again, was the sugar, the coffees, cigarettes, other items that were restricted or rationed.
Right.
We went there. He got ration cards for gasoline, and it basically took 1 day to drive from Mannheim down to Trieste. We went
wow.
from Germany, Austria, Switzerland. We went on a train through a mountain in Switzerland or Austria somewhere, and that was fun because
Holy cow.
and when we got on the other side, we came down, and you can see the valley of the mountain. We're coming down. You can see the curvy roads and stuff. So it was fun.
Very
Occasionally,
cool.
we go to Aviano to go. My dad would go to Aviano Air Force Base in Italy, and that was a couple of hours away from Trieste, and do some grocery shopping there at the commissary and the PX. Back to me, football, wrestling, etc. But anyways, because I came back late, my football coach was mad at me because football practice started at the end of July, and I was still in August. I was still with my grandmother, and he was mad at me because he was telling me, you could go see your grandmother after you graduate. No, you're affected the football team because you were not here. Yeah.
Right.
So I
just giving you a hard time about it.
He did. So, but so he didn't let me play for a long time and stuff. So it's okay, fine, But every time we practice and stuff like this, I was a defensive lineman. I would cut through the line, and and one time I tackled our quarterback because it was the first time got through the line and stuff. I tackled them because they said get the quarterback.
Yeah.
They said don't touch the quarterback. Okay. Next time I went through the line, the next play went through the line. I ran. I stood up in front of the quarterback and basically waved my hands in front of him so he couldn't pass.
Yeah.
So the head coach was getting mad at this, so he put two additional guys behind the lineman, and another guy in the back in the event that I got through.
Oh, no kidding! Wow.
So I was getting through the line, our first line of offense, got through them, passed these other two guys, and then I went and ran around the quarterback, and it says don't wave in front of the quarterback. So I ran circles around the quarterback as he looking for an open man and stuff like this. So, hey, okay.
Wow.
I was just trying to tell the guy, hey, I'm a good offensive player. If you choose not to play me, your loss, not mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just play those silly little games like that. So I remember one time where I was defense playing against the offensive line, and I went through the line, and I got through so fast that the pulling guard on the other side of the tackle, on the other side of the center, kicked my leg, and basically I thought I broke my leg because he kicked it so hard I couldn't walk. I was in extreme pain, and my calf, I couldn't walk at all, and my calf was just in such aching pain. And they said, no, it couldn't have been the pulling guard that got you. And I said, yeah, he kicked me. He kicked me as he went across me. So.
Wow.
Anyways, that's that's our football story.
Yeah,
and
you were
then after football was wrestling.
You were obviously really good football player.
Yeah, I weighed about 170 pounds, and of course they lied when they put you on the roster of who's on the team and what you weigh and how tall you are. And they said I was 185 or 200 and things like this. And
Yeah.
like I said, I was basically 175, 180 in football.
Okay.
Wrestling, they made me the heavyweight because I was the heaviest wrestler on varsity on the seniors. And I was, we have 165 and then became heavyweight. So I was wrestling these guys that weighed 200-300 pounds.
Whoa.
And it was miserable. I had a wrestler from Canyon City. He was about 6'5", probably close to 300 pounds, and mostly muscle, but a lot of fat on him. And I tried to take him down, grabbed his leg, and he fell on top of me, put his arm across my face. And basically, I remember I could not breathe at all because my face was in his armpit, and it was like suction. I couldn't breathe, nothing like that. So I ended up biting him in the armpit to get him off me so I could breathe. And, he had a big welt from my teeth marks on him. But eventually, he beat me. He pinned me. And like I said, he was bigger than me. And like I said, he just threw me around the mat. And I just did my best to, stand up to him and didn't make it. But the coach appreciated the effort I put out. And that's it. I through this the county, whatever, when they had the finals for the county match, I was basically number 3 in the county or the district, school district, I guess, for our team. And we basically had 2 districts come together, or 1 district, I guess, and some other ones. And I was number 3 in as best wrestlers of all the wrestlers in heavyweight division.
Right.
And so before that really happened, I had an infection on my arm, and the doctor told me don't go and wrestle because if you break the pus in your arm, whatever, it can, you may lose your arm if you do that, because I had an infection. Yeah, it was in my arm, and so I had to pull out of the wrestling tournament, and another guy went in for me and stuff. After that, it was track, and I was basically I was a shot putter for that, and wasn't really hot on that. But what I did is I developed I tried throwing the shot put like you throw the discus, because the shot put, the way we were told to do it, was you hop backwards and then you jump up and you shot the put like as high as you can and out. And I said, well, I want to try spinning around. Therefore, I have some sort of centrifugal force as I'm going around, and I can shove it around my shoulder and go out. And that's the style that they use nowadays in the shot put. Back then, it was simply hop, 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 throw it up. Turn around and throw it up. So I did something new. So, hey,
Well, I think you invented it. I think everybody else followed you. That's what
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't do good enough in the shot put to make a difference. We had other people there that were, like I was still 170 pounds, and I was going against bigger, larger individuals who could really heave that, 16-pound shot put out there. So, but anyways, boot camp started on 9th of June. And
what year was that?
1974.
74, okay.
And so we went from there to Denver to do more testing, more physicals, spent the night. They flew us out to San Diego, and we waited at the San Diego airport until we got a full bus, and then they loaded us on the bus, and it was getting dark when we got to San Diego, to the base, the recruit depot. And it's, they told us to be quiet. They told us what to do when we got to the base, and, and just follow the instructions. Okay.
Right.
Got there, everything's dark and stuff. The lights, there's no lights on, anything. And all of a sudden, lights turn on. People run on the bus, and they start screaming, "Get on the yellow footprints outside now! Move it, move it, move it!" Do so. So, just that's how it started.
Yeah.
And screaming and yelling and of course we didn't have suitcases or anything like that. We just our clothes that we wore on our back.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Now,
talking. It's the interview. My wife is wanting to know what I'm doing. So
you got excited.
yes. Boot camp was the same old thing. They taught us how to march. Of course, they intentionally the first week or two, they walked you out of step. There was no effort to try to make you go in step. And there's you just fumbled along, and you had your initial issue of uniforms and unbloused sneakers, too big, and cover over your eyes and stuff. You can't see where you're going, and and we ate breakfast, came out, lined up again, walked over to another place, did some things, did some classes, did some testing. Then eventually they started to teach us how to walk, and and then from walking we learned a little bit of marching, and then there was more things and further marching, and eventually we went to the infantry. Basically, we went to Camp Pendleton for the rifle range. By then, we knew how to march and things like this, and never really fired a rifle except in Boy Scouts. And they gave us an M16, and they told us how. They showed us how to clean it and take care of it.
Yeah.
And we went up there and we did it, and I did pretty good. I was shooting pretty much like an expert, and I was the best shot in the platoon. And the drill instructor, a gunnery sergeant, he didn't care for me much either because he always had something that I wasn't doing right.
Right.
And
yeah.
I just remember bins and thrusts and push-ups all the time in front of his guardhouse or his quarters and stuff. So I just did what he told me to do. Yes, sir. But I always had a clean rifle. I always had the best starch cover I could get. And of course, we had to use our teeth after we starched it real nice and good. And we were still using the green sateen uniforms back then.
Okay.
So that's it was nothing camouflage off of, but
right.
That's what we had. We had to get a haircut every week. We had little chits of paper that we used to buy things at the exchange. Like we needed toothbrushes or toothpaper, razors, shaving cream, mouthwash. That's always the big thing they wanted. Fresh breath.
Yeah.
And of course, there wasn't much of a selection of this as Listerine for us. Just okay.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
Wow.
And of course, the drill instructor said we had to swallow the Listerine so that our farts would smell good. Okay. Listen to the drill instructors.
I've never heard that one before. That's good.
Yeah. And so they came for the night before qualification. Since I was the best shot there, and the drill instructor, senior drill instructor didn't like me, he called me to his quarters and he grabbed my rifle and he changed the dope on my rifle.
Oh,
yes. And he said, okay. He said, what were you shooting? I said, target center of mass, bullseye. He says, now you're going to be shooting at 6 o'clock at the bottom of the target, at 6 o'clock, whatever, and you should hit the bullseye. Aye, aye, sir. And he told me, don't change the dope. Don't say anything. Just go out there and shoot. And I had a heck of a time because I was so used to having it when in the standing position or any position, when I had my sights dead center on the black, right in the middle, I would pull the trigger slowly, squeezy, and I had right in the black all the time.
Yeah.
But at 6 o'clock, when he's telling me, I was hitting high. I was aiming for the middle, and I was getting at 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Or 11 o'clock, right? It's those kinds of things. And I saw, So I started shooting at 6 o'clock, and I eventually started getting in the black and stuff. Not so good, but I was still doing pretty good.
But you were able to still qualify and everything.
I qualified, not a problem, but I wasn't qualifying high expert.
Right.
That was out of the bag. Because before I would get, in standing, I would get 8 blacks. And a couple of two on the right on the outside, kneeling and sitting and prone and stuff, I would hit them all pretty much 8 again in the black or 9, and then something right outside of it.
Right.
Rapid fire and things like this, everything was in the black.
Yeah. Man,
So
that's awesome.
I was, that's what I was doing before the qualification day.
Right.
Well, rapid fire for the final segment came along. The drill instructor loaded my second magazine. He said, "That's your second magazine. Use it last. Use this one first. If you have, any problems, let the range person know." Went through the first magazine, and I was hopefully, aiming slightly low below the black. Hopefully, try to get it in there. Put the, second magazine in, locked and load. Went through it and stuff. Last round, I pulled the trigger and went click.
Oh.
And I, raised my hand, said misfire, and another gunnery sergeant came by, a range gunnery sergeant came by, and he was buddies apparently with my gunny, and he looked at the gun and stuff like this, and he eventually pulled it out and said, "You fired."
Oh.
And I said, "No, sir. There's 9 holes in that target down there. The 10th round did not shoot. You fired it. See, the round's here. It's hot. Sir, there was no 10th shot." So, I found out that the gunnery sergeant did that. So that was 10 points.
Wow.
Right there that I didn't get. I came out with a score like 219, 218, 219, something like that, which was high sharpshooter. Mm-hmm. That was it. So, instead of coming out with the expert badge, being the high shooter of the platoon, which automatically gave me a PFC rank, I came out as a private. So,
no kidding.
So after that, based upon our things, we went to do other work and stuff. And we did our 2 weeks of not field training, but 2 weeks of duty of other stuff. And they came out and said, "We need a bunch of volunteers. So-and-so platoon is short of people, and they need some people to help. You. Mess duty for 2 weeks." Whereas the rest of the platoon was doing groundskeeping, raking leaves, and picking up cigarette butts. I was at mess duty, getting up at 3:00 in the morning, setting up all the, clean the tables, getting stuff ready after the meal for breakfast, washing the trays and silverware and the glasses, cups, and then getting ready for lunch and dinner and stuff. And then after dinner, of course, clean that up and going to bed. Okay. Then we did infantry training. Then we came back to San Diego, MCRD, where we finalized our marching and essential subjects and things like this. I was in 3rd Platoon, 3055, 3rd Battalion, 3055. We wore blue shirts and stuff. The other battalions had other colored shirts like red or yellow. We did close combat, Puji sticks and things like this. And, I got my licks in there and with the Puji sticks and stuff like this. On hand-to-hand combat, somebody, we had to choke each other out, and somebody choked me out, and the drill instructor had to come and revive me because I wouldn't wake up after the guy choked me out.
Whoa.
So, all I remember is that, they said, "Don't resist, just let him do it." Okay. I just remember standing there, and the next thing I knew, everything is, buzzing and lights started coming in. I says, "Where the heck am I?"
Yeah. Holy
and
cow.
The worst part I thought about boot camp was that we're in formation, and San Diego Airport is right next to us, and watching those airplanes take off every day. You're just wishing you're on that.
I could be there.
But anyways, we passed inspection. We left, and I signed up to work on computers. That was my enlistment code. I was going to learn to do computers because my dad says learn a skill and that you can use on the outside from the military. My plan was join the Army, become a tanker like my dad was. No, he said learn a skill. Okay, fine. Well, I signed up for computer, operator. I got my orders at the end of boot camp, and it said Hey, aircraft navigation school. Huh? What does that have to do with computers? Well, that's what they selected you for. Okay. You're going to Memphis, Tennessee. Okay. Report there with all your stuff. You are not allowed a POV. Okay.
Okay.
So went there, flew in. We took a bus from the airport, and we went into the middle of town. Got off the bus, Kenner sea bag, wearing our greens.
Mm-hmm.
And we got approached by all kinds of people. Hey, you want some dope? You want some of this? You want some of this? You want some booze? Oh, my goodness. You know.
Wow.
And here we are in Memphis, Tennessee, and it seems like the worst part of town. And Colorado Springs had neighborhoods, and my best friends were lived across the street from their black kids. I played with a bunch of black kids on the football team and stuff, and wrestling and things.
Yeah.
I didn't think anything about it, but this place, my goodness, scared the daylights out of me. Eventually, we got a bus. We got to Millington and checked in and stuff, and they threw us in a barracks, wooden barracks at first, and eventually they put us into a brick building.
Okay.
A little more open squad base, which was nice. But we still had no doors on the door, no doors on our rooms. It was six people to a room, and basically bathrooms were in the middle of the building. So we had
common
we had
heads.
a bunch of all the rooms were on the outside, and the rooms were the bathroom was on the inside. So that's how we lived. So while we were waiting for our school to start, they gave us additional duties, cleanups, take roll call and things. And the funny thing was, they asked me, says, find out which place these people graduated from. Did they graduate from San Diego or MCRD Paris Island? Okay. I didn't know. I said, okay. And I came with her and I called everybody's name and said, where did you graduate from? San Diego or MCRD? So the problem was both of them are MCRDs.
Yeah.
But they explained it to me as Paris Island was MCRD, San Diego was something else. Okay. So everybody, I came back and says, sir, everyone is from this MCRD. So we had to go back on and do it again. I don't know anything about the Marine Corps. Come on, it was what they just told me and stuff. Eventually, my orders came for me to go to Corpus Christi, Texas, to learn aircraft navigation on a C-130. I said, that sounds like fun. Flew down to Corpus Christi, took a bus out there, and we learned how to navigate. And they gave us these large sheets of paper, which was grid paper, special grid paper because it dealt with maps. And they said, okay, you go on, here's a protractor, here's a ruler, here's a pencil, and here's, a compass where you can, protract or whatever, a 2 metal prong compass kind of a thing for you measure distances. And so we had to, they said, okay, here's your instructions. You start at a point anywhere you want on the map, and you go and find. You follow directions, and you tell us where you're at the end for each lesson. ... Well, they forget to mention that as you went either north or south, the latitudes and longitudes got different. So
I see. Yeah.
So the measurements got different. So you're using down here near the equator, but when you start getting up further, things changed, and they didn't tell us that stuff. And and they said, "Oh, you got to figure this out yourself," And they always come back and say, "Wrong, do it again. What are you doing wrong?" So, that was our first Marine Corps birthday. Was there at Corpus Christi.
Nice.
They invited a girls' college, a bunch of girls from the girls' college to go. And since I didn't have a date or anything, I wasn't really knowing what the birthday was all about, I didn't go. I stayed and I slept in. And everybody else, they came in after midnight, and I'm sound asleep. And these guys are drunk as a skunk. They came up and they threw me out of my bunk and everything else and trying to wake me up. Okay. So I should have gone and would have had a good time. But I never went off the base at Corpus Christi. We ran on Corpus Christi. the beautiful breeze. We had a beautiful breeze coming off the ocean all the time, so we didn't
Yeah.
feel any bugs. And they said, "Oh, mosquitoes here are terrible." I never felt it, but I had that wonderful breeze coming in there. And we were staying in a barracks, a wooden barracks, old wooden barracks, and we had the Seabees with us. So they
Oh,
were,
wow.
they were
Okay.
Navy, and so we kind of learned what the military was like a little bit from them. And these were people
Okay.
getting out, transitioning, medical leave, medical waivers, or
Mm-hmm.
medical issues and stuff. And we were
Right.
there in school. So a lot of us didn't make it, and they sent us back to Memphis, Millington.
Okay.
Got back there, and they said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I want to do something where I'm helping people."
Mm-hmm.
And they said, "Okay, these are the openings we have for you." Da 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 da. And I said, "Oh, egress and environmental ejection seats. That sounds like fun. I'm saving people's lives. Cool.
Yeah.
I want to do that." And he said, "Your scores are good enough. You can become an electrician or something like that." I said, No. Sounds more fun. So I became an egress environmental technician, fixing ejection seats and air conditioning systems and canopies, operating on the canopy system and opening them and closing them and things. And
Right.
graduated, still learning the ropes of everything and how to do things. I was pretty good, but I wasn't the best. The best people went into a program for the F-14 Tomcat, because the Marine Corps was looking into acquiring the F-14 Tomcat, and they had a bunch of people they wanted to learn how to work on the F-14. And I wasn't one of them, so they sent me to Cherry Point, which is the 2nd Marine Air Wing, I guess, and got there, again in my greens and stuff like this, and they said, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I would like to work on the C-130s, and I would like to, let's see what else I want to do." I said, I want to do that, and I want to try the, C-47, C-9, and the Harrier. Okay. They put F-4s for me, Phantoms. And they said, "Okay, you have to go to Beaufort, South Carolina, or Beaufort, South Carolina." And I said, "Where's that?" It says, "Go out the gate, make a left, head south." Okay. That's, and when I drove, and eventually I got there late at night, and I had these jets flying right over the Highway 17 or whatever, Highway 21 in Beaufort, and they're getting ready to land. These jets are really low, coming over me and stuff. I go, "Oh my goodness, that sounds wonderful."
Yeah.
Drove in, find out where I have to check in at, checked in, and then started the whole process of, now you're going to be assigned to a squadron. You're assigned to training maintenance element 23 or something. And from there, they assigned you to a squadron, and you got to meet the people within that squadron, and you were assigned to the seat shop. And there we learned how to do things there. We got refreshers on what the ejection seat was, how to work on them, what to do, what not to do, how to conduct pre-flight inspections, filling liquid oxygen tanks. They were 10-liter green bottles that were under pressure, as well as sealed so that they don't defrost very quickly. So they were sealed in that way too. They showed us that goes on underneath the airplane. Don't get it mixed with hydraulic fluids or anything like this, or grease, because that's a no-no. They told us where the LOX area was, or liquid oxygen equipment was, and that was far away from the airplanes, far away from everything. Okay, it's way over there. Okay, so every morning we had to have full LOX containers. We took them out the airplanes that were going to be going out, loaded them up, closed the door with, and sealed up the oxygen things. We did the pre-flights on the airplanes. Then they talked about 7-day inspections. We went out there, learned how to grease all the parts of the canopy, opening and closing, checking the seals, make sure there's no holes in there, cleaning the window, And then they said, "Oh, we're going to teach. We have an issue where electric and comm nav needed the back seat taken out because they needed to get to their equipment because it's at the bottom and they have to get the ejection seat out, at least the bucket out to do that. So we learned how to take out the seat bucket, and they showed us how do we do it with 2 people, and eventually we had to do it by 1.
Oh, wow.
You know? So hey, which was fun. You went there, you take everything out, put it outside on the wing or the intake, and then you went, you climbed out and you reached down, pulled out the seat by yourself, put it on the intake, put it on the wing. You get it down on the ground, and then you put everything together back again. You put it on your head, and you walk from the airplane to the hangar like that.
Oh, jeez.
So just so that's where you hurt my back and stuff like that. PFT, I was good at. I was able to run about 19 minutes on the run.
Wow.
I could do 120 sit-ups in 2 minutes, and I could do about 8 to 10 sit-ups. That was it. I was weak in the arms. Basically. But I was strong in the legs, kind of a department in the stomach. So
that's,
we
that's
had
good.
to do
19-minute run time is insane.
It was good, but I slowed down over time.
Yeah. You're not running a 19-minute anymore?
No way. I hobble. But I slowed down over time as time went along. But most of the reason why I did so good in boot camp with the run was that we generally ran as a platoon, and the drill instructor had a fast pace.
Right.
As we kept together, we could do it. But when you started doing it individually and stuff like that, you couldn't keep up with the fastest people.
Right.
And you didn't want to keep up with the slowest people. And you want to stay as much as you could in the middle to just keep pace and everything else. And and they were screaming at us, "Don't go in groups." Okay, individual. All right. Yeah. So we still try to do that as get together and run together, and there's a big thump as we ran down from one end of the field to the other. So we ran from one side of the base to the Navy base and back. The fence.
Okay.
Back to so I was assigned to Marine Fighter Squadron 251, the Thunderbolts.
Okay.
And that was fun. And then I got reassigned to 312, which were the checkerboards.
Okay.
And we did the same thing there with TMA 23.
It was the same aircraft?
The same aircraft, F4.
Okay.
These are all F4 squadrons. And then after we finished we went to Cherry Point again for instruction on the aircraft itself, on the F4, training on the F4. That was almost like 30 days, 3 weeks course on the Phantom. So we learned everything about the ejection seat, the air conditioning, how to run it, how to check it, how to replace things, how to take out the panels, air conditioning pressurization, theory of the pressurizations, check valves we had in the cockpit, what we need to do if there was a leakage in the cockpit, what to check, how to clean out the cockpit when you took the seat out, the equipment air conditioning system versus the cabin air conditioning system. The hydraulics basically was the pneumatics, not more hydraulics, it was pneumatics, because we had canopies that had to open and close. You had the buttons on the outside of the canopy, and inside there was a switch, and we had to know how to change the strut, change the O-ring around the canopy so that when they blew it up, it would seal the cockpit so that they could have pressurization inside the cockpit.
Oh, wow.
So we learned all those things, and there were about half a dozen of us in the class. Okay. Because we're all from different squadrons, all going at the same time. And I came out number one in the class. So
very nice.
Yes. So
now at this point, how long had you been in?
I was in basically almost 1 year.
Okay.
Because like I said, got out of boot camp on September 4th, went to Memphis in September. In October, I was in Cherry Point, or not Cherry Point, but in Corpus Christi until after the birthday ball. After that, they sent me back to there. Then they wouldn't have me start until after Christmas, a new class. So January went through class and stuff. Then to Cherry Point, Beaufort, back to Cherry Point, and then back down to Beaufort. And that was assigned to my permanent squadron, Marine Fighter Squadron 451, the Warlords. So we had and I stayed there for many years. And some of the things we were deployed at while I was at 451. Going my glasses. Of course, we went to Yuma, Arizona for weapons training, dropping bombs. Right. We flew against the F-102 Delta Dagger in Tyndall Air Force Base because our pilots wanted to get familiarization training with other aircraft. And this was a Delta Dart kind of a thing. We went to Eglin, flying against a 101 Voodoo airplane, which is almost like a Phantom, but not quite. We went up to Suffolk, Michigan, and flew against the F-105. Now, the Tyndall and Eglin, we took most of the squadron with us. But to Suffolk, they took only 10 people. And I was basically flight equipment. I did flight equipment, air conditioning, and ejection seats. And so I did all that stuff there. And we had hydraulicsmen, plane captains, electricians, radar techs, etc. So they would fly against this airplane up there in Michigan. Then we got assigned to a Navy aircraft carrier. Our squadron was assigned to the USS Forrestal, and our sister squadron right next hangar next to us, Trip Tray 333, the Shamrocks, were assigned to the Nimitz. What was happening was that because the Navy was transitioning from the F-4s to F-14s, they did not have enough squadrons trained to go aboard ship. They needed 2 fighter squadrons, 2 A-6 squadrons, refueling squadrons, 2 A-7s, helicopters, the CODs, etc. So the headquarters, Marine Corps, U.S. Navy said, send the Navy out there with the Marines with the Navy, and we flew. Our sister squadron on board the carrier was a BF-11, and this was the prior year's fighter squadron of the year. They won an E or something like this for their ability of being such a good squadron. And we were out there, and we had to learn how to land on aircraft carriers. They did practice on the field. We went to Bogue Field to practice out there also, which was in North Carolina. We went to Cherry Point and did some carrier landings out there. And then we went to Oceana. We flew to Oceana so they could do carrier quals from Oceana. And they took the entire squadron out there. And so
I didn't realize they did the quals there for the aircraft carriers.
Yeah, but they did right up. The carriers are stationed at Norfolk Norfolk Naval Base, so they go out there in the Atlantic and they did it and stuff. They go up and down. Occasionally, they would have us fly from Beaufort or something and things. Meanwhile, we also had to do additional training. We had to go to Jacksonville to do shipboard firefighting training. So they put on a bunch of fires for us, and they said, "Hey, try putting it out with water," which we couldn't have. We'd had a hard time doing. But then they said, "Okay, use this special foam for putting out the fires," and it worked great. And they talked about, "Hey, these are the different kind of hoses you can use. We have the sprayers, the big long hose with the spray thing on the end. That's to cool off the heat from the fire, so the people with the big hose can put out the fire." So we had crew to take care of the cooling off the firefighters, and the people with the firefighters with the hose doing that. Other people with fire extinguishers or whatever, if they needed to do that, and people controlling the hose. And they were telling us about watch out for the direction of the wind and stuff. Don't get into the wind, into the smoke, because whatever, you'll have problems. Wearing protective gear, and water survival training. We had to go through that. They had our life vests and stuff like that. They did water survival training for all of us, jumping from a high altitude, basically the rafters of the indoor swimming pool. So
Nice.
We went up there, and it was 30 feet, 40 feet, whatever. We jumped, held our noses, crossed our legs, jumped in. and we were basically in our combat boots and sateens and with a vest on. And don't inflate the vest until after you get in the water. And we had to blow those up because they didn't give us nitrogen bottles. So
oh jeez.
It's just the way this is. So that was practice. You should get in there, come back to the service, start blowing. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on out. Next group. Okay. So we did all that fun stuff. So
did they make you take your boots off and
no.
and then do the trousers?
They had spare boots there, which were oversized, and they didn't let us use our own boots to jump in the water. They had us use these old flight boots they had there.
Yeah.
The toe scraped off and whatever, steel toe showing through, and they used that because those were waterlogged and like I said, size 14 and 12 and everything else like that. So So we eventually, one of the places we had to go was to get familiarized with our other squadrons, and they sent us to Fallon, Nevada, in the middle of the wintertime. I think it was probably January, February, somewhere in there. And Fallon, Nevada, never knew where that was. A small little town out in the middle of nowhere, and that's where all the squadrons got together to learn to work as a team.
Okay.
So we went out there, and of course, the Navy and the Marines had a snowball fight. One Marine squadron versus all the Navy squadrons, and we won. The Navy lost, and they stopped us from having any more snowball fights because the Navy people would run behind their airplanes or into their airplanes, getting away from us with our snowballs. So, so that was only safe. We had to be on the flight line, and we sat out in the open, and the Navy would, try to hide behind the airplanes.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Oh man!
One of the funny things that happened at Fallon was that we, since it's always snowing and icy out there, we had one of our air crew members come, for a landing, and he landed and he hit a patch of ice on the runway, and he started doing 360s down the runway in a Phantom.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and that's what he said.
Yeah, imagine
so okay,
said way more than that.
Yeah, he told us about that, and we didn't see it. Of course, all we saw was the planes landing and stuff like that. So we were inside. It's cold. Right. We didn't want to go outside at all unless they needed us. For fun in a game just like this, we went into town, and then they told us that, hey, you need to be 21 to go into the casinos, which is a bummer because I was 19.
Yeah.
So we gave our money to our sergeant. One of our sergeants in our shop, and we let him gamble for us.
Okay.
So, we gave him 40, 50 bucks, whatever each and stuff, and he gambled and stuff like this, and we went into the restaurant and had a meal.
Nice. Okay. Like a buffet type deal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's all we could do is have a meal and stuff like this, and he gambled, and he'd come back the next day and said, well, I didn't do so good. I didn't win anything. I'm going to try again, All right, gave him more money and stuff. But anyways, he had all the fun. We had all the losses. So
yeah, it's not near it, and it's not near as good. Handing somebody the money, Right.
And like I said, we learned that the Marine Corps was, short of funds, and basically our two squadrons, Trip Tray and us, got a lot of the funds for maintenance, parts, fuel to do flying, so we could be ready for going aboard the carrier duty, whereas other squadrons were cut back on fuel and flying hours. The mess hall had a lot of beans, many times, baked beans for meals. Yeah, and so we missed all that stuff. We got aboard ship, and because of the shortage of funds, they limited the number of people who could go on to the flight deck. So it was the plane captains and one person from the seat shop, and one person from ComNav. A lot of the ordnance people could go. Hydraulics, one person. Metalsmith, one person. Power plants, maybe two people. But it was mostly plane captains and everybody else. But lo and behold, occasionally, some of us had to go up there to help. Okay. And there was, but we didn't get paid for it because if you were on the flight, that you got flight duty pay.
Oh, right. I see.
Because we're not supposed to be on the flight deck. We never got flight duty paid, but we were on the flight deck anyways.
Yeah.
So we stayed, behind the island and stuff, and waiting for us to be called or something like this, or down on the catwalk along the side, waiting for things to happen.
Right.
And well, that was it. So
And how long were you on the ship?
It's basically a year. But we hit port every couple of weeks. We hit Oceana. We went to Mayport, Florida.
Okay.
Down in Florida, outside Jacksonville, and got off there and went ashore duty or shore for fun and games. We went down around the Puerto Rico several times.
Okay.
And back up. We just went back and they were telling us, "Oh, you're going to go on a Med cruise. You're going to go on a North Atlantic cruise. You're going to do this. Oh, yeah. You're going to go on a Caribbean cruise. Go around, the Caribbean, on a goodwill visit. Oh, yeah." All we did is went up and down the coast, and that was it.
Oh, jeez.
So towards the end of this, the program, the USS Forrestal was selected to be the flagship for the bicentennial event in New York City for the Fleet Week, I guess.
Okay.
And one of our maintenance people, not maintenance, but maintenance control person, he had purchased a large colonial flag, a giant, supersized colonial flag.
Right.
And he told our squadron commander, our CO, who told the ship CO that he had this flag. Would they consider flying it? Well, they flew it, and he got it back, and people signed it. And President Reagan was on the ship for that event, for the flagship and stuff like that. I could have stayed there, but my cousin was getting married in Colorado Springs, so I went back to the wedding for that. So for my cousin's wedding and stuff. So she was the first person on the American side of the Italian American side of the family, of my aunt and my dad's side, whatever. Let's put this, of the girls that came from Italy. She was the oldest girl that got married first. So I was going to be there to celebrate and all that with them. So I didn't go to the 4th of July in New York City. I heard everybody had a good time. Everything came back. There were no more ship duty and stuff. And then we had an opportunity to go to Westpac. They were looking for volunteers to go on Westpac for 1 year.
Wow.
Or it was 6 months. I think it was 1 year.
Okay.
I'm not sure, 6 months or 1 year. All I know is that I forget, because I remember they were going to take the entire squadron from here, which were transitioning to F4J/S models, and take them over there and leave them there and bring back their old F4Js back to us.
Okay. I see.
So they went with VMFA 122, the Crusaders, to there, and they stayed there. And when they got back, they got 30 days leave. So it must have been a year that they were over there.
Okay. Wow.
And some people were happy. Some people were not happy when they got back. Some of the wives were pregnant when they got back. Not delivered yet. I wasn't doing that, so. But I stayed in my squadron at 451, and then I went to 115, and I became QA, quality assurance, for the airframes division. So I was inspecting electric shop, all the power plants, metalwork, hydraulics, seat shop, flight equipment.
Right.
Training for the plane captains, training for the support equipment, how to operate that, safety use of that.
I'm assuming you were NCO by this point?
I was a sergeant. No, I was a corporal then. I was corporal.
Corporal, okay.
While I was in 451, my staff sergeant said that, when you become a sergeant, you have to be able to become a staff sergeant. And you don't have a lot of leadership skills. You have great technical skills, but leadership, you can't get the people to do a lot of the things that you need to be done. You do it yourself instead of asking them to do it. I said, well, that's because I can do it faster than they can. And sometimes they give so much work to do, we need to get it done. That's why I do it. I take the hardest jobs and whatever and get it done, faster.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And that happened aboard the carrier before we're leaving. The final fly-off, we had an aircraft that experienced a shuttle air leak in the back cockpit, and that's that was there was a valve in there that basically, so when you hit the open the canopy, it would shift air into the valve and say, okay, I'm now going to open. Now it hits the other way, the air blows and closes it shut. But if there's a leak, you can't, it won't stay shut. So we had to pull out the seat, reach behind where the ejection seat was, take out 4 bolts, take off this valve, which was about size of I don't know, a large stack of cheese almost.
Okay.
That big. And they had to. And we had the staff sergeant, NCIC. He went down in the shop and he rebuilt the cylinder and gave it back to us. We put it in, hooked everything up, tested, fill up the air again in the airplane, tested it. We had a problem again. He went back, rebuilt it, brought it back, and after like the third time, it finally worked. We put the seat in, and and the ship has flight quarters only for so long. I'm on the flight deck, and all these planes are taking off around me. I've got the canopy closed, and putting this, putting the valve in, putting all the connections on it, then throwing the seat in, and then we got the bucket. We're ready. And we got the plane off. We had one airplane that couldn't get off because they had hard nose landing, so that had to be craned off. But everything else got off the ship, and that was an amazing thing for our Marine squadron. Also, the Navy squadron F4s lost 2 aircraft. One was by the CO, and he said he was flying along happily in the sky, and the next thing he knew he was flying in his parachute. Didn't know what happened. And we said, that sounds weird, And then another one was an aircraft had a ramp strike. An F4 had a ramp strike.
What is that?
Well, when the airplane hit the back end of the ship.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, and stuff. So that happened, which was unfortunate. But they ejected out and stuff. So
they survived.
Yeah. Well,
survived it, yeah.
No, because it's kind of stormy, and they got out okay. But it was the A5 that had a ramp strike or had a landing gear hit the ramp, and it skidded down the flight deck. And when they ejected into the radar systems of the island.
Oh no!
Yes.
Wow.
And one, landed on the aircraft carrier. The other guy they lost at sea. He flew into the ocean and stuff, and they couldn't find him and stuff like that. So.
Holy cow, man! But all the Marines did
all
pretty
the
well.
Marines were fine. We got back and stuff, and we had a big party and everything else, we got a big certificate. Everybody got a Meritorious Mass. Pretty much, there was like 50 of us that got a Meritorious Mass for the work we did on the ship, or maybe 75, but it was majority of the squadron for a job well done. For doing the maintenance and stuff, keeping the airplanes flying and things. So that was great. So there I was in 115 and stuff like this. And what happened? Oh, yes. I was, in the barracks, Christmas passed, New Year's was coming up. I was broke, I said, okay. I spent the last of my money for gifts for friends and things and said, I'm going to stay here, in the barracks. I got a call late at night, and it turned out to be my girlfriend I had in high school. She calls me up, and she said, "Oh, she's going to school. She's graduated from boot camp, and she's at Paris Island. And would I like to go see her? She's right now at the Naval Hospital." I said, "Oh, great, okay." So I drove over there, saw her and stuff like this. We walked the ground of the Naval Hospital. It was fog on the ground. It felt like walking on cloud nine and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And it was nice seeing her again and stuff like this. Eventually, we started dating, and then she's telling me that if we want to be together, you're going to have to marry me because I'm not doing so good in A school, with admin school, and they're going to send me, wherever, I'm not going to get my first choice of being, number one in the class. So I said, okay, well, let's talk about this. You sure you want to do this? We talked about our feelings and our commitment and everything else.
Right.
So, okay, we decided to get hitched real quick.
Mm-hmm.
I found her a job at, I checked the squadrons that I worked at and stuff, the admin offices and stuff, and see that the openings. They didn't. My squadron 115 did. And I told her, after I told her that, I says, okay, we're going to have some ground rules. One, I don't come bother you at lunch or during the day while you're working, and you don't come down to the hangar bay and bother me while you're working or lunch, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
We get together for lunch or something like that, but we can't bother each other while we have our work duties and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we made it clear, we had work to do. Let's do our work and stuff like this. So we got together for lunch. We did some PT outside, exercises, running, had a sandwich or something. And, we at the end of the day, we went home and stuff,
Right.
We got married, so we keep stationed together. I found a trailer home on the base at Mount Laurel, Laurel Bay, which is base housing. They had an area for trailer parks, trailers, and we had a nice one, real nice. It was a 2-bed. It was basically a full bedroom with a half bedroom.
Okay.
With a small bathroom and a full bathroom. There's a toilet and a sink and whatever. A nice living room, dining room, and kitchen. Nice area. A washer. So nice place, air conditioned. It was real nice.
Got to have the AC.
Yeah.
It's important.
We need an AC. Yes.
Especially down there.
After about 1 month or so, whatever together, we came across a horse. She always wanted a horse. And I said, well, we're living off my paycheck because something was going on with her prior life before joining that she had to have her money go pay some kind of a bill or some money she owed somebody or something. So we were living off my salary as a sergeant.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the deal was that, we got married and stuff like that. Okay. So we found a horse, and we paid $600 for a registered quarter horse.
Wow.
The horse was in bad shape because the dog chased it, and it bit off all its tail hairs, and it chewed off all its mane. The hooves were curving upwards on all 4 feet, and it had a diet of pure grain, no roughage, and it was pooping nothing but grain out. So we talked them down and said, this horse is going to need a lot of work and a lot of medical care to get it running. You see the hooves are split, the hair, the tail, and all the hair on it. It's stuff. It's skittish. It doesn't want it to be near people or anything like that. And, it's a very it can't be ridden. So a lot of training is going to have to go into this animal, and we're going to find a place for it, and we're not going to have a dog around it, so it's not going to be scared. And so this is what her 1 month anniversary present. So,
oh, nice.
Yes.
1 month.
1 month. Yes. So we were talking about, we had a small church service in at MCRD down there at Paris Island with the chaplain she knew, and we said we're going to have a big service when we go home after I get out, kind of a thing. When I'm getting out in June.
Right.
Comes towards the end of June, and she's telling me you need to reenlist. I have 3.5 years to go. You're getting out. What are you going to do? I says, well, I was thinking of going to college. Because I was taking college courses while I was at the squadron before I met her, and I had a couple of courses to finish off my bachelor's.
Right.
So but I had to do a lot of I had to complete a lot of my undergraduate courses, math, English, histories, etc. And I didn't do that. So, that was my plan. And she, we talked and talked, and she discussed it and discussed it. And I re-enlisted on the 9th of June, Friday afternoon at 4:45. And I decided to be an air traffic controller because something happened where the last time I was at Yuma with 451. And we had, we had good airplanes and stuff. And we also had like some foreign officers with us. And he came back while we were at Yuma. He was flying with a squadron again. And they decided to do a 4-flight formation over the field and then break off and do, a fancy landing kind of a thing. Fancy break off and land. Well, one went okay. Number 2 started its turn and then went level again. Number 3, saying that number 2 started its turn, made its turn, ran into number 2. They collided around 1,000 feet in the air, and they basically hit the ground, and both pilots died, and both the Rios got out. And we were told that they were out of the flight envelope and going down so fast that the ejection seat could not go out fast enough because of the gravity. So
Holy
kept
cow.
them in. And and we worked on those seats and stuff like that. And I said, what I'm going to do is going to save lives. And 2 of them didn't, but it wasn't my fault. It was the airplane. The other 2 guys got out. The back seat, the Rios got out okay. And we had to go out there and we picked up pieces of the Phantoms, and they were like sizes of $50 pieces, 50-cent pieces. That's how big the pieces were left. The radar was nothing but a mangled jangle of wires and stuff. We had some larger pieces of part of the wing, the strut, the engines, but most of the metal skin and stuff was nothing but quarter size, dollar size pieces. We had to pick everything out of the orange fields and the grapefruit field next to the base there, because that's where they landed. That's outside the base. So,
holy cow!
And I just that's why I wanted to get out of there. It says I want to do something that could have prevented that from happening. And I said I could, if I became an air traffic controller, I would have said something. I could have done something.
Right.
And that's why I chose to do that. So I went, I re-enlisted. We got married in Colorado, came back and stuff like this. And then.
Now you had to go get training for.
Yes, I had to. I had to go back to Memphis, Millington, Tennessee.
Okay.
About 2 days or 2 or 3 days before I left, go to drive there. And I came back with a secondhand car because I had my car there. It was brand new kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I brought a secondhand car because that way both of us could use a car and stuff. She was on mess duty from the squadron. So, and stuff. And she was coming home late, and I said, well, okay, she has probably something to do and stuff, but I was bothered by it. So I felt something was wrong. I drove out to the base. And when I got to the traffic signal right outside the base, I saw my car coming from the other direction, but it was turning left to go into Beaufort. And I said, that's odd.
Okay.
So my light changed. I went across and turned around. And she didn't notice me. It's like this. And then I followed her, and somebody else was in the car. And it turns out she went to a hotel and was with the guy.
Oh, geez.
Yes. I got very upset and stuff like this, confronted her and everything else and stuff. And, I left her there kind of a thing. She said she'd be home eventually. And I didn't, I went home. Next day, I tried to talk to my squadron commander I had there. And then at this time, I was at Hams 31 with a Paraloft. I was working with packing the parachutes.
Right.
And calibrating the altimeters and stuff for the ejection seat. So I talked to the colonel there, and he said, well, give this girl some time and some space. And when you get back, hopefully she'll see see whatever she did wrong, etc., and whatever. So I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
My clunker broke down on the way there. Had
Oh, geez.
transmission seal leak, so I was putting in every 10 miles another 2 or 3 quarts of transmission fluid in. And
Holy cow.
it's getting later and later and later, and things are closing. So eventually I got to Millington. Cars just flooding hydraulic fluid out.
Right.
Signed in, got everything started and stuff. Got the car fixed. I set it up so that the paychecks, my majority, I would say 95% of my paycheck stayed there with her, because all the bills are going to her, to the house. My credit card, the rent, the utilities, etc., the phone bills, food that she needs and stuff were going there. So I said I wanted to keep her provided for, horse food, horse feed, hay, whatever, all that was available for her to do that. Gas for the car. This is during the 70s when they had the big global crisis with gas. And Carter was in office. No. Carter wasn't in office. Who was it?
What year?
No, it was. It must have been. It was no. He wasn't in office yet. Okay. And Rose and Ryan, whatever. Reagan wasn't. I don't think he was on the 76 thing, because Reagan came after Carter. Yeah. Okay. Reagan came after Carter. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Because I remember now that the failed attempt for Iran happened.
Right.
All that stuff going on. So well, that's another story. Okay. So I was going to school and stuff like this. Had a 3-day weekend coming up, like in October, November, something like that. I drove home. Car broke down. Alternator went out. Generators went out. So I was stuck in Montgomery with a sailor friend of mine who was also in my class. I dropped them off in Montgomery after we got the car fixed. I drove in, came in Saturday night, and like she wasn't home. I parked the car down the couple of trailers away from our home, came in, locked the door, and waited for her to come home. She came home with her boyfriend that she had before.
Oh,
kicked him in the ass, threw him out of the trailer, and says, "Don't ever come back again." Closed the door, and I, gave her a piece of my mind, yelling at her and stuff, the spouse and things. And, didn't lay a finger on her. I just raised my voice, and,
Yeah. Holy cow.
And she said, if I don't press charges against him, she would try to make it work when I got back. Oh,
okay.
Foolish me. I didn't press charges. I left her with a good car. And I returned back to the thing, and I finished school. The day before graduation, I get a divorce papers from the state of Minnesota from her.
Whoa.
Yeah. Because she didn't have any claims for divorce for me in South Carolina, because I never beat her. I never cheated on her. And, and I did provide for her. And prior to that, she was saying, "We have a great deal on a truck. Let me sell the car and trade it in on the truck, and we get to do it." I said, "I want to wait till I get there. I want to buy the truck together. I want to buy the truck together. I want to buy the truck together. Don't you love me? Don't you trust me? Don't you love me? If you don't love me, you don't trust me. If you don't trust me, you don't love me." How do you fight with logic, So I eventually gave her the title to my car, and she bought a truck and put it in her boyfriend's name.
No.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yes.
Man, she's doing a number.
Yes. So I got back, graduated and stuff, got back, returned to the trailer we had. Place was empty. She left. She took the dog with her. She had a cat, but she left the cat there. The bowl of water was dry, so it must have been drinking water out of the toilet. A giant bag of cat food 40-pound bag or something like that was spilled on the floor. The cat was eating out of that. Litter box was full of poop. Place smelled to high heaven. And, she was nowhere around.
Yeah.
Nowhere around, and I didn't know where she was. I went to the dispenser.
And you had the divorce papers as well.
Yes. Yeah. She was filing for divorce, but it couldn't be finalized until after I agreed to it and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So I couldn't see Base Legal because she went to Base Legal, and since she was there first, she couldn't help me.
Yeah.
Parris Island Base Legal couldn't help me because they work under the air station Base Legal, and they couldn't help me. I had no military legal assistance whatsoever.
Oh, geez.
I went to the dispensary and said, I want to stop my allotment going to this account, whatever. It was a joint account. I need to stop it. You can't stop it. They said, I have to keep it going. Okay. So she got to the bank account first and she took all the money out all the time. I was left with like $15 every pay period.
Whoa.
And she failed to pay the rent and the utilities before she moved out in December.
Yeah.
So they were screaming for December and January's rent.
Yeah.
So I had to ask my parents for some money sent to me so that I could take care of these bills that she left me with. So eventually I got divorced from her in South Carolina. And the judge, didn't care about, the car, didn't care about all her actions and stuff like this. He granted the divorce, didn't care about all the money she took. Oh yeah, fun part. One day I got there to the credit union before she did and took the money out. She contacted the commanding general, who was the head of the credit union, as one of the officers, complained to my commanding officer. I got called up in front of the base CO in my greens, yes sir, why did you do this? You can't do this. And they didn't care about my excuse of she's taking all the money out of my account.
Yeah.
You have to give it back to her. I says, sir, it's my.
To all the listeners out there, if you're struggling, need help, anything like that, don't forget the VA has some great resources. You can always dial 988, press option 1. You can always text 838-255, or you can go to veteranscrisisline.net and click on that chat icon. Any of those options will put you in contact with somebody that can help you out. But remember, one veteran life lost is one too many. I care about you. I know Chuck cares about you. The whole veteran community cares about you. So please reach out for help. And if you're out there, you're not struggling, reach out to the buddies you serve with, ask them how they're doing. If they need that helping hand, please give it to them. All right, Chuck, one last time. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate it. To all the listeners out there, stay motivated. Change your socks. Thanks for tuning in to the Lost Art Project Veterans Voices podcast. Our mission? Simple. Preserve history, one veteran story at a time. If you'd like to support this work, consider making a donation or sponsoring an episode. Every contribution helps us capture and share more stories for future generations. You can learn more and give at thelostart.podbean.com or by clicking the link in the episode's description. Stay motivated, change your socks, and remember, every story matters.